Hello, everybody. Today's Friday, August 14th, 2026, almost 8 o'clock in the morning. And this is a quick update on the 2026 hurricane season. We're going to look at what is happening in the Atlantic. And also, we're going to see what is potentially going to happen for Hawaii. As you guys are seeing, this is the National Hurricane Center's website. We are looking at the couple areas that the National Hurricane Center was looking at. They have kind of backed off, especially the yellow area, significantly, which is kind of surprise. I mean, not surprise in the sense of that I wasn't expected, but surprise in the fact that they went aggressively as far as high chance of development. At one point, it was up to 80%, and now out of the sudden is basically down to like 10%, 20%. So obviously that's a big decline or change. But nevertheless, the conditions are not conducive in the Atlantic. There's a ton of wind shear, and it's just most likely that wave was not going to survive basically the road into the Caribbean, how I mentioned in my previous videos. The orange area that you guys are looking at, then again, nothing expected to affect anybody. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised again if it curves out to sea. So nothing to really worry about in the Caribbean. Now, let's talk about the Pacific, because as is the talk of everybody, as we have now a couple new areas of possible development, low chance, but then we also have a couple tropical storms in the Pacific. Now, let's take a look at Lala. Lala is the one that we need to be paying closer attention. As of yesterday afternoon, the National Hurricane Center started actually issuing a hurricane warning, and that's for the Big Island of Hawaii. Now, the track, as you guys see, is still uncertain as far as the center of the storm. Is it gonna make landfall in Hawaii? I mean, technically speaking, being in the center, going over the island, is a pretty good chance. But it's also there's a chance that it could miss the island. But let's not forget that the top west or the top northeast quadrant of the storms, that is what is called, or many meteorologists refer to as the dirty side of the storm, meaning the worst or the strongest winds on a storm. And if based on the current track, if that plays out the way it is here shown in the cone, then Hawaii will definitely feel the worst effects of the storm, even if it doesn't make a direct landfall. It all depends how close it gets to the island. But right now, Lala, let's take a look and see what is the wind speeds and everything. It has wind speeds of 60 miles per hour. 74 miles per hour is a Category 1 hurricane. Just for facts or to give you more information. 997 pressure, west-northwest at 10 miles per hour is moving. Now the wind speed probability. So again, the Big Island is definitely going to affect the effects of this particular storm. Now the rainfall totals, obviously significant amount of rain is expected for the Big Island, worst part being roughly 16 to 20 inches of rain. That is a lot of rain in a short amount of time. And also the big issue is that there are very, very tall mountains in Hawaii, which increases the chances of landslides and mudslides. So again, that kind of rain being dumped in a mountainous area is definitely going to cause some issues. Some flooding, some mudslides, again, life-threatening events. And up to 16 to 20, but like how it says there clearly, isolated areas may see up to 25 inches of rain. So that's actually a lot. Now let's take a look at the key messages from the National Hurricane Center. And this is from last night. They haven't updated it yet for today. But as of last night, 11 p.m., Lala is forecasted to strengthen and become a hurricane. Hurricane warning remains in effect for the Big Island. Tropical storm watches is in effect for Maui County. And winds are expected to be strongest in areas of higher terrain. So again, the higher the elevation, worse it is for rain, but also for wind. Heavy rainfall associated with Tropical Storm Lala will begin to impact the Big Island Friday. So, in other words, today. Spreading westward across the remainder of the island chain during the weekend, this rainfall may produce life-threatening flooding and mudslides, how I mentioned, especially in areas of steep terrain. Now, like I mentioned in my last video, the big issue with this particular storm is it's how quickly it was going to impact the islands. And again, the National Hurricane Center, they try not to be very bullish on storms or really say, hey, this is going to be a really bad storm when the models are not really showing it. And that's kind of what I felt as usual. Well, let me rephrase that. The National Hurricane definitely went bullish on this particular case, which usually they don't. When I was looking at the different forecast models, literally no models, at least from the main ones that everybody has access to, none of them were saying that this will intensify into a hurricane. A strong tropical storm, but not a hurricane. And even that was the case, the National Hurricane Center still designated a hurricane watch yesterday during the day. So they kind of went bullish, but nevertheless, there's a big probability, there's a possibility, let's put it that way, that this may intensify to a hurricane. Interest, let's read point number 4. Interest elsewhere in Hawaii should monitor the progress of Lala, and tropical storm watches or warnings could be required on Friday. Now, that is basically what the National Hurricane Center is saying. Now, let's take a look quickly at the models. Now, this is actually, let's take a look at the Atlantic real quick. Couple spots again. So you got first wave, second wave, both are not expected to survive the Caribbean. But then if we go forward, basically, according to the GFS, nothing really developing. Now let's take a look at the Euro. Euro basically supporting the GFS at this point, nothing developing. Let's take a look at one more model, the Icon, or the German model, same thing, okay? Now, the Icon shows something a little bit different, and it is some leftover moisture from these waves potentially making it to the Pacific. If that happens, how it has happened many times before, and vice versa, from the Pacific to the Gulf of Mexico or the Gulf of America, and then vice versa. So it also moves over and intensifies and it forms. And this particular, if it plays out, I will definitely keep an eye on this because there's a possibility that it will develop. Now let's take a look at the Central Pacific. This is the Icon. And again, the Icon shows shows Lala missing the island, the big island, with pressures of 990s, 993. Okay, so nothing really strong, but definitely potentially to create some chaos. Now the Euro, on the other hand, kind of like a similar scenario, missing the island as well, but really brushing it with a high pressure of 1,004 millibars. And then the GFS, let's see, the GFS 998. Now let's take a look also at the hurricane models, because the hurricane models usually have a tendency of blowing up storms, and that's historically. And again, it shows a similar scenario, 990s, but actually going over the big island. And then let's take one more. And again, missing the island, 994. So what I'm trying to point out here is, if based on everything that is, all the data that is out here, all the forecasting models, I personally would not expect this to be a major wind event. The storm, if it makes it to a hurricane, it's going to be very short-lived as far as a hurricane status. There's literally no models supporting a strong hurricane or almost a hurricane at all. So that's something that, again, if it makes it, it's going to be short-lived. I'm not expecting anything major. Now let's take a look at the satellite imagery to see how it's developing. And I mean, it does have, it's still tilted. It's still the bottom east part of the storm is actually eroded. But the concentrated convection is on the top part and the west part of the storm. So if it can really wrap around a little better or get a better structure on the bottom part, then it has a pretty good chance of intensifying into a hurricane. But as of right now, it's not. So we just got to keep an eye on this. But I wanted to point this out to you guys. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content, and I will keep you guys posted if any changes with intensity or anything else happens in the Atlantic. Thank you guys. Have a good day.